Hey guys, welcome back to Trace Anula Sew With Me videos. This is obviously my channel, and I guess we attempt to sew together on these little live streams, but it feels like 90% of the time it's just me talking and maybe like pinning or planning, but rarely sewing. But I have a treat for you today because we are actually finally, this is part 9. I know in the description it says 8, but I will edit it later. This is part 9 of sewing these high-waisted denim jeans. And like I've said previously, it has taken me 4 pairs of jeans to make these high-waisted denim. I have already started pinning them together. So we have one side fully pinned. This is just one of the back sides takes this many panels. And then, oh, actually that's total lie. These 3 panels are the back side, and then this goes on to the front, and I didn't add the absolute front one yet. And then over here, this is what a back side looks like, this one. So anyways, we already have all of that pinned together. So that means I'm actually going to sew today. And also on the last stream, I was mentioning how we had to make adjustments to the back waistband, like not the top waistband, but there's like an in-between, there's the leg panels, there's the pre-waistband panels, like the mid section, and then the waistband, which we just cut off the denim that we're going to use. So that mid section, we had to add these mini little panels onto those because we didn't have enough fabric to cut out the full leg panel for some of the back pieces. So that's what these are. I think it's going to actually turn out really well because the side blue pieces are going to go all the way up, and the front pieces should also go all the way up, but just that back section in black is going to have an additional little panel, which is, it's going to look like it was meant, like it was pre-thought out. It shouldn't look awkward and like plastered together. So that is good. I haven't sewed in a minute, or I just like to keep my room clean. So I actually have to take this all apart and set it up. And let's see. Didn't think about this ahead of time. And I also am going to have to prep my machine. I'm going to have to thread it and everything because it is currently threaded with white thread, and we're going to use black thread for this. And also, I am going to take, we don't want this to all fall apart. It's a lot of pins. So I'm going to lay it on the back of my chair. And I'm going to bring this over here, and we're going to use this as sample fabric so we don't ruin our good fabric when we go to test if this stitch is correct. I'm going to do a zigzag stitch because I want to like prevent any like fraying and stuff on the edge, or as much as possible. So we're going to do a zigzag stitch, probably a straight stitch followed by a zigzag stitch. So we'll try that, and we're going to test it out because I want to make sure it's the right amount of width and length in the zigzag. And then also we are going to use this woolly nylon that I talked about a ton already in the making of, not in these, but in other live streams, in all my other live streams besides the denim one, because we haven't sewn yet in these denim jean live streams. But usually jeans are sewn with a really like thick, a thicker thread, like double the thickness of most threads. And it's like really durable. Sometimes it's even waxy. But a lot of times I feel like the thread of the denim is in the top stitch thread, like the thread that they use for the stitches and then the top stitch thread are 2 totally different things. So, and the top stitch thread tends to be a thicker, waxier yellow thread a lot. So I don't think we're going to do that type of top stitch on this. But I do want to use this woolly nylon, which is usually used for knits, but you know, jeans are really stretchy, or tend to be. And that's just because it's going to make it more durable. I can use the woolly nylon on this because jeans are stretchy. And then it's just kind of the thread will therefore kind of like stretch with the denim. I could be completely wrong on this and it could be a horrible decision, which is why we're testing it out. But these Zara jeans that I made it from, wow, that did not stretch at all, are really, 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 really stretchy in this direction. And then in this direction, they're not stretchy at all. So let's hope the best here. Yeah. So anyways, we're going to go for that. So I'm not going to use this bobbin that has regular thread on it because the woolly nylon goes in the bobbin. And I actually might use a brand new bobbin just because this bobbin has woolly nylon on it, but it has like hardly any. So it's going to be done within like one stitch. Well, that's okay. Maybe we'll just use it for the test and then we'll rethread it. So then I'm going to use this black thread as my counter thread to the woolly nylon. I wanted it to be a cotton, but this is a polyester. I've been trying to just use up all the thread that I own because I own so much. But let me see if I actually have a black cotton thread or a cotton poly blend, because I feel like that might be a little bit better than doing pure polyester. But again, it should be fine. You want your thread to match the components of your pants. Okay, so I'm going to do this one actually because it's a cotton polyester blend. So I'm going to switch. Almost all my other threads are 100% polyester. Okay. And I have like an all cotton one, but then that one is only, there's not that much of it. No, that's a filter thread. Sorry, guys. Did not mean to take so much time doing this. Okay, this one's perfect because this one, some of the threads looked a little too waxy, but this one is a cotton polyester blend. It isn't black, but it's a really dark navy blue, and that is perfectly fine with me because these pants are black and blue. So, okay, we're going to use, this one is a 37% cotton and a 63% polyester. I want to say this is probably 100% polyester, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all, but it doesn't matter. It's fine. We're going to do it. We're going to go for it. Whatever. Okay, so now what I want to do is thread my machine, which is incredibly dusty all of a sudden. I don't know why. It's not dusty on the inside though, so that's good. Okay. Okay. Unnecessary for the live stream. All right, let's go. This sounds really dumb, but I lost, oh, there it is. Okay, I thought I lost this spot. All right. So then we are gonna, this one just save for later. We're definitely gonna need it. You put your thread on the top. Okay, so now I don't want to waste like a whole ton of this fabric. So I'm just going to take it, in one small part. And we are going to try to sew the edge. So like I said, I want to do a zigzag stitch, but I want to do one of the stitches that's a zigzag and a straight stitch. So we're going to do a straight stitch with a zigzag. The straight stitch is here and the zigzag comes off of it, which is number 12 on my machine. And let's see. So now I have to think about, okay, what do I want the length to be? What do I want the width to be? The length of the zigzags I want to be not too long, but still not short either. So the options are from 3 to 5. So I'm gonna put a 4.5 and see how that looks. And then there's the stitch length, which kind of determines how close your zigzags are together. It put it naturally at a 2.5. That's the max you can have. I'm gonna actually put it at the lowest is 1. I'm gonna put it at 1.5 and see how that looks, because I really want to prevent fraying, and I feel like if I make the stitch length too big, then it's not gonna prevent it. So let's see. Then I'm gonna put my needle down. Let's see. Of course, there is going to be some frayed pieces sticking out. Just go ahead, trim those off. Try not to cut the stitch. Let's see. Okay. So this is my sample stitch. I feel like you will not be able to see it because it's black thread on black fabric. I'm kind of like pulling at it and just seeing like how it seems, because I want to be able to really wear these jeans and have it be high quality. So that's why I'm just really taking my time to make sure this looks like it's going to be a nice stitch. And I do think it will be. So that is perfect. Let me flip it over and make sure I like how it looks on the other side. I really like it. It looks really well made. Okay, so sample done. And now it is time to actually start sewing these jeans. I'm so excited. Okay, let me also plug in my iron, because in between these stitches, we are going to have to iron. And I think I'm actually going to move my ironing board so it's like more in this view. All right, so perfect. You can't see the mess I'm making over in this corner because my sewing machine is there. All right. So now I'm going to swivel my ironing board so it is in frame so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Oh my gosh, I scared myself so bad because I dropped my scissors and I thought they were going to stab me in the foot. Okay. Okay. Also, you may have noticed I have given up on proper clothing because I never leave my house, so what's the point? All right, so now iron is plugged in. We are gonna turn it on Probably gonna have to return it on every time because my iron turns off a lot. But just so you know what I have prepped so that, oh, I need one more thing. What I like to have at my ironing station so that it's properly prepped. I feel like I should turn this so I don't trip and die in the process. Yes. Because I have a lot of cords. No, I don't think it's going to work. You know what? No, we're going to risk it right now. I'll do it different next time. More thought out. Okay, so I have my ham in case we need to press any seams against this. Might not be necessary because these are going to be a lot of long straight stitches right now, but when we get to the waistband, ham will be necessary. So that's one thing. Water, because you need to be able to wet your seams to make sure that they get pressed really flat. And actually, I'm going to take some of this water because I get really annoyed if I have absolutely no water in the iron and there's only a tiny bit left. So I'm going to pour some of this into the iron so that we can actually steam out of the iron. But some of the stitches might, also I highly don't recommend you do this. I literally have the iron plugged in right now. This is not the smartest idea. I'm also like spilling it out onto the burning iron. It's really great. Okay, so we have like a little bit of water in there. So that's perfect. And then you're going to go ahead and use this if you ever need to drench a seam in order to, press it more, like get a wrinkle out that just won't come out. This is absolutely perfect. This is how I always do it. And then also tiny scissors. Tiny scissors are so important because when you get over to iron something, you're going to notice you didn't trim all the stitches off, and these are what you're going to need. And then in order to make this all smooth so I don't have to keep looking for my scissors, sorry, I'm trying not to trip and die on these cords. Okay. We're going to get a couple more pairs of tiny scissors out so that I also have a pair next to my sewing machine. And I'm also going to grab a seam ripper because that is super duper important. So there we go. Okay. So let's hope I do not, let's take this back a little notch. I feel like I'm going to swivel my chair right into the ironing board and then drop an iron on my face, which will be cute, but I'd rather not. Okay, so now we also have our pins on a magnetic tray. Usually when I'm sewing, as I take the pins out, I just leave them right here. But I try my best when I'm not being messy. Do we need a mouse right now? No. Okay, so I try my best as like I'm sewing, just every seam, go ahead and remove the pins. And this is perfect because you can literally just run it over the top. So I'll put that right next to there along with my scissors. These are not that necessary right now, so we're going to put them over here. Also, be careful as you're like putting items in front of your machine because they're going to get knocked off because we're sewing something that's like a lot of fabric, so it's going to probably brush into that and knock it off. These are pattern pieces. I'm going to pop those over with the rest of the pattern pieces. Okay, now we are ready to go. It's important to kind of clean up your space because otherwise you start knocking stuff all over and it gets really frustrating. All right, let's give it a try. Now remember what I said about the thread, because at any point, I might run out of thread and then have to redo the seam. I'm going to sew all of my stitches from the bottom because I want my hems to match up. That is the most important. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, because this is a perfectly finished hem already on all of these jeans. So it's a lot thicker than the rest of the fabric. To start on your thickest part of the garment is the worst idea ever. You're pretty much just asking for your sewing machine to get jammed. So I'm going to start down here a little bit and start sewing that way. And then at the end, after we finish the seam, we just flip it around and we sew the reverse way. So we sew from a part of the garment that's thinner and down off the hem and just go right off the edge. But still, we want to move this way down the garment because we want it, if there ends up being any unevenness in the pant, I'd rather it end up in the waistband than it to end up in the hem. All right. And I'm starting with my foot not completely lined up with the edge. I'm leaving about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Well, as I just stare, sorry. I've made this, I made my pattern with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. This is more than a 1/4 inch. Yeah, sorry, I just had to look at the ruler. Okay, so this is about a little, like 1/8 under a 1/2 inch, which is fine because it will just add a little more ease in the garment. I'm not worried about it. So the reason I have to do it this much is because that's how big my zigzag is. In the zigzag stitch, since we're literally sewing 2 stitches together and it's a zigzag, I'm gonna have to go really slow. Like I'm going the absolute fastest I can go right now on this machine, which is very slow. So this is gonna be a process. Just make sure it's lined up all the way through. It's like sliding in one place and I just don't want it to. So that's why I'm taking my time. And let's just keep double checking that we didn't run out of thread yet. I really like how it looks. So I'm going to go back and trim off the excess after. But we'll probably like sew the seams before we trim off the excess because what's the point of trimming it and then we have to make adjustments and we've already cut it shorter and then it's too tight or whatever. So wait until the end, but definitely iron it in the meantime. So I'm back stitching now, and I actually am in like 1.5 inches away from the end. Oh, that was pointless. I was gonna say that I was gonna back stitch about, which is like holding in the stitch and knotting it off. I was gonna do that about 1.5 inches from the end of the seam because I wanted to leave room in case I want to make adjustments to the waistband. But I ran out of thread, so I'm adding some pins back in there. All right, that's fine. We knew this was coming. So I'm going to cut it off. And did the stitches get weirdly short or anything? No, it looks okay. It's just that, so we're going to come up here to where we started the stitch, and we're going to cut that. Trim those threads off. Of course, there is, like I said, there's going to be a little bit of fraying because we have some denim sticking out at the edge, but that is totally fine. Before I worry about rethreading the machine, I want to go back and I want to look at the stitch and make sure when I pull it really hard apart that it's still holding together really nicely, because, you know, these are jeans. They could, you know, sometimes they're, yeah, that's really good. There's one spot where I feel like the stitches got kind of short, and I'm actually going to put a pin. It's like about 1/2 inch, where for some reason the stitches started to get longer than they're supposed to, and you can see the threads a little bit, whereas the rest of it, it's completely tight, and it's a really beautiful stitch. So that's great. I'm really, really happy with how that turned out. Again, we ran out of thread, so I have to finish. I feel like you can't really see anything. Again, we didn't sew the tip yet, but yeah. So I'm really happy with the choice in stitch and how that's looking. Now we're going to go ahead and rethread our bobbin. So we need some woolly nylon. All right, and again, if you have never seen anyone use woolly nylon before, I've repeated this a few times now, but honestly, no one has ever talked to me about this thread. I just found it on YouTube. So if you've never seen someone use it before, it's a super stretchy thread that looks kind of like pillow stuffing because the threads are so loose. They're not twisted together at all. And they recommend that you wind the bobbin, which you usually do on top of the sewing machine right here. You do it by hand with woolly nylon. So yeah, it does take a lot more time, but it's definitely worth it because it just makes sewing with knits so easy. Hey, Jack. It just makes sewing with sewing knits, so easy. They never pull. I want to make like a little quick tutorial about using this thread sometime, because if you try to sew knits without this thread, it's very difficult. It might be easier with a serging machine, but I don't have a serger. I literally just have this one machine. Well, I have other more basic machines, but this is my go-to forever machine. I love this one so much. I know it's just a home sewing machine. It's not industrial, and therefore it's kind of slow, but it's really great. And if you get one of these pads, it makes all the difference, because if you're someone who's really comfortable with a sewing machine, home sewing machines can get very frustrating because you're going at full speed and the machines are so light that they start to bounce up and down on the table. And one, that's just frustrating because it's loud. Two, it's frustrating because literally you have to hold down the machine while you're holding down the fabric. And, you know, you're kind of like this while you're trying to go really fast. Whereas you couldn't really tell this time because I was going full speed and I was still going really slow because, like I said, the stitch had involved so much work, intricate work. But normally, like if I was sewing at full speed, when it's on this mat, you can't tell. It looks like I'm going at like a slower speed because the machine doesn't vibrate or anything, which has been a lifesaver. I can't believe I've went so long without having one of these mats. It seems so pointless and useless. Like honestly, when I first heard of them, because I think I like Googled like how can I like stop my sewing machine from making so much noise, and this came up, and it's actually like the same brand as my sewing machine. So I don't know if my sewing machine, which is a Genome, is like specifically lighter than most. I don't think so, because I've also had Singer sewing machines. I know most people really like them. I don't prefer them at all. As a kid, I always had, why can't I remember it right now? I think they're called Brother. Are they? Or am I just like making that up? I think it's something with a B. So I want to say Brother. Whatever sewing machine starts with a B that's really popular that you can buy anywhere. I've always had those, and I always liked those until I got this one, which I got because my first internship was at a bridal company, and the designer owned one of these. And ever since then, I have full force been for this machine, and I highly recommend it. Mine is not even like expensive. There's all different tiers of every brand of sewing machine has different tiers. This one, I want to say maybe I got for $3.99, which isn't the highest tier at all for me to be using it for everything. And I think this is the same one she had, which we were using to sew wedding dresses. And I've also used it to sew a couple of wedding dresses. So highly recommend this machine. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like no one even cares about that. Yeah. Still just twisting this woolly nylon. We're going to honestly wind a lot of it right now because I hate having to take breaks to wind the bobbins. So I'd rather it just be completely full before we start sewing again. So we can at least try to get all these panels sewed together, which I'm super excited about. Because, that means I could potentially be done with these pants tonight or tomorrow. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna be, what's the word? Wow, I feel like my head is just not working right now, my brain or anything. I'm not going to be overly ambitious. I honestly do not think I will finish these. This is already part 9 of this sewing of these pants. I feel like after I make this or finally finish them on the live streams, I want to take all the live streams and speed up the parts where I'm actually working and make a 1-minute video of the making of these pants. But I feel like it's going to take me 3 more days, honestly, because I do sew every day, but it's for about an hour. So let's be real. Yesterday I did sew, even though I didn't live stream, I just wasn't feeling completely up to it, but I still, I didn't sew, but I cut out the pattern pieces and I pinned all these panels together. So, and I kind of worked on the adjustments I wanted to make to the waistband. But yeah, so as far as being productive goes, I kind of did want to talk about that though, because I feel like this is a really interesting topic. I've heard a number of people talk about it online, in podcasts, on YouTube and stuff like that. But it's so interesting because I've heard people say people are always making excuses why they can't work on their dream project, or, they can't do this or that because they have to work their 9-to-5 job, or they're so busy doing whatever they're doing in their normal life and juggling everything. And now it's kind of like there's no excuse for most people because most people are just at home. And I'm definitely one of those people that fit into both of those categories. Like, I have so many ideas and so many ambitions for life, but then I always have like a 9 to 5 job, not specifically that is 9 to 5, but I have a day job and it does take me away from home a lot. And even the jobs that I've had previous to my current job, which is being a flight attendant, I've always worked a lot. And therefore, kind of like my dreams get pushed to the side because it's very, by the time you get home from work, you're so tired. Even flying, we work a very different schedule and we might work 2 weeks on and then a week off. But that week off is cherished because you're so tired from, doing so many flights, like 30 flights within 6 days that, and different time changes and all different things, that when you do have the opportunity to just sit down and watch a TV show, you feel so happy and you just cherish that time. Well, now I have no excuse because I have only worked for actually worked, had to leave the house and go to the airport 3 days out of the last 2 months. And that is insane. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the month. And I foresee, or that's me saying from March, March, out of March and April. February, I worked a lot, but March, I worked 3 days. And then April, I don't think I will work for the rest of the month. I'll be on call on the last week of the month, but the likelihood that I work is very low. So I really don't have any excuse for not accomplishing the goals that I have in my head and that I'm making for myself. And yet I'm not. I'm still, I'm doing the bare minimum. I said that I would post every single day to this YouTube channel. I have been late posting some days, but I have managed to put out a new video within a 24-hour period of the last one, even if it's at 1 a.m. instead of midnight, like it's supposed to be posted by. I still count that as a win. I still have just not oh my gosh, my computer might die. Let's not have that happen again. If you were on the stream last time, I'm so sorry. Okay, yeah, perfect. Okay, so what I was saying was, I'm counting it as a win as long as I get a video out every day. Even if it's a little bit late, I still make sure that a new video is coming out. And that I have been good at. But then it's like if I have one focus, that's all I have. I'm not able to. Well, that's not true, because then I also have been making sure the podcast comes out on time. I'm walking produce, and I have been very consistent with that as well. Welcome, good evening. That's very, very formal. But yeah, so I've been good in a way, in the bare minimum sense of meeting deadlines. But then as far as making sure the quality is increased and stuff like that, I am struggling. And the fact that yes, I do sew every single day, but it's for a bare minimum of 1 to 2 hours rather than just spending a whole day sewing. I guess that's really not humanly possible since I also have other things going on as far as the podcast and stuff. I don't think you can hear if I sew. So I'm just going to sew for a minute and we'll get back. I said before, I kind of wanted to backspace it. Backspace? That is the wrong word. I feel like that's the wrong word. But anyways, I wanted to go backwards and lock the seam in place about 1.5 inches away from the edge, because I just feel like I might end up making adjustments. Make sure you trim off the seam, because we started in the middle of the seam. So sometimes you forget to trim those ones. All right, trimming that. And then I'm gonna go down to the hem, because like I was saying before, we have to go over the big hump of the hem because it is so much thicker than the rest of the jeans. So push it through, and you gotta pull it to actually get it through, and then try to backtrack a little bit. I'm actually gonna go over it twice because it's so thick, and I just want to make sure it's locked in. Okay. Then we're gonna trim the extra threads off. All right. And I think I said before that there was one other place that I just felt like I want to double check that that's in there well. I feel like we can make it a little bit better. Let's see. So what I'm doing is I'm going to go the way that we started, but I'm going to start right after the hem, because I just feel like it jumped a lot right there. Cool. There we go. All right, cool. Make sure you trim all the threads off. You don't want anything to bundle up and knot in a gross way. Okay, cool. And I'm pulling it apart, and it looks really good all the way through. And there was just this one part right in the middle that we had it where, like, it was probably the way I was pulling the material or whatever, that in this one spot, the threads got a bit looser. And we just want to make sure it's consistent all the way through so that they wear nicely. Okay, I feel like, yeah, I'm just doing it longer than I need to just to make sure that I cover my bases. Okay, cool. But just be careful when you're sewing something like this that you try your best not to pull the fabric, because I tend to pull the fabric a lot because I just want it to go faster, but then that's how you end up having looser threads. This is really nicely stitched. Not to pat myself on the back, but it is. Okay, so then we're gonna go through and we're gonna sew one more, and then we are gonna go ahead and iron this. Cool. All right. And again, just don't do the same thing. Don't start right at the hem. Start a couple inches away, and you'll go back to that at the end. Make sure you start the same distance away from the edge as you did last time so that you have consistent seam allowance. And this is a zigzag stitch, and we plan on going over the seam again, so you definitely don't have to worry about back stitching. Back stitching, not back spacing. That was the word I was looking for. again, just leave a little bit of space at the end in case you want to make some adjustments later, but make sure you knot it on this end. Okay. Go ahead, check how that seam looks, especially because we're matching 2 different types of denim this time. Let's make sure that seam is solid all the way through. It looks really good. All right, I'm excited. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and we are gonna flip them around so that we can sew the hem again. And again, we're working on sewing the leg panels together. And this is the back side of the denim right now. Doesn't really make a difference where you start. I figured I would start with the easiest part of the pants. I figured that the front was going to be more complicated because we have front pockets and we have back pockets. Like I want to put back pockets on it, but I want to put like patch pockets. So I'm just going to add them at the end. And again, we were able to sew right off the edge for the hem, but I want to go back through one more time, actually maybe 2 times because I feel like it really didn't catch at all, to make sure that it really catches and holds it in place. Cool. And we're going to go through one last time to make sure that it really does. Every time though, make sure you trim off all the threads. Otherwise you're going to end up with like a knot and it's not going to look very nice. All right, so trimming off all the threads. And starting over again. Okay, cool. Okay, and I have to admit, doing that, you have to be really careful because when you get really thick bits of fabric that you're sewing, you have less control over the foot, and you could definitely end up, okay, yeah, this, for some reason, it's not, I think I was going the wrong way or something. I know why. Okay. So this is a simple mistake you could make, and it's making the threads, it's showing the threads more than it should be, because instead of flipping the fabric over when I decided to go in the opposite direction on this side, I kept the same fabric on the top, which means since I'm sewing my stitch looks like this. Let me show you on here. So my stitch looks like this. It's a straight line like that, but then there's a zigzag coming off it. So if you don't turn the fabric, I ended up accidentally doing this. So if you see that your fabric, so I ended up making my stitch look like this. So then when I pull the denim apart, you're seeing these threads because this thread, right, this straight line right here isn't blocking it. So it's not a horrible error to make. And it wouldn't even really change like the wear of the pants. It's just that it wouldn't look as nice. So I'm going back over it so that we can continue that straight line like we're supposed to. If anything, it's kind of a good thing to do on the hem, or I mean, like, yeah, like on that really thick hem right there, because it's just going to lock that stitch in place. The fact that I did that. But all right, now let's go back through and look at it. And yeah, now there's no pulling and it looks really, really nice. So there's the hem. And right here, because the hems were different sizes, this black thread hem is a little higher than the yellow thread. At this moment, I really don't care. We'll see how I feel at the end. Also, these pants were really worn and I didn't really notice that at first, but I think it will be cool because that's the back of the pants, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so this is one back leg that I have done so far. So I am going to go ahead and iron this all out. And I did want to note, so I have everything pinned together right now. I am not going to sew the crotch seam, like the butt, or it's like the butt seam where I sew the two back pieces together until the end, because it actually is a lot better to sew this curved crotch seam from back to front all together. So once I get the front panels also sewn together, I'm going to connect the front and then just sew one curve all the way across. And that's something that if you haven't made pants before, you might not think about. So I just wanted to note that really quick. Okay, so then going back to what I was talking about before, and how people expect you to be able to be so productive during this time because you're not really doing anything else. It's interesting because I feel like you can really start to get down on yourself for not being like more productive than you have been, or for me, than I have been, you know, because, make sure your iron is on the highest temperature. I'll put it on, the absolute highest. What is it called? But I was thinking about it, and it's kind of like, it is kind of like that thing where it's when you're forced to like stay inside and not leave. It kind of has an effect on like the way your mind is functioning, and like it's almost like you're a kid in study hall, and like like the smartest thing to do is to like do your homework during that time because then you don't have to do it later. But there's kids that, actively think about that and then do it. And then there's other kids that just like put their head down in study hall because they just want to get out, and they just want to get out of school, and they want to like wait to do things like on their own time. Like they just hate being told like to sit there. I feel like I'm that type of person. It's like I'm trying my absolute best to be as productive as humanly possible, but it's kind of a struggle when you actually like don't have any other option than to stay inside and like do as much work as humanly possible. But you have to get over it, because I feel like just doing work in general is a struggle for me. So, okay, let's see. So I ironed it on one side, and now I'm flipping it over and ironing it the other way. You want to really flatten out these seams as much as humanly possible, because it's going to be harder to flatten them out once you sew the legs completely together. I'm just adding a little steam to make it a little bit easier. One of my black pairs of jeans are way more worn out than the other ones. Kind of funny. Okay, so I ironed this side. I just want. All right, and then the hems are going to be a little bit harder to get fully flat because they're so thick. But we might do a top stitch to push them into place. Okay, cool. And then at the top, okay, cool. So we have the back panel right here sewed. And I know that took a long time. I feel like threading the woolly nylon always does add a lot of time onto it, but it is so worth it because I feel like it keeps these pants super stretchy and durable, and over time, like they're really going to last. I'm super excited about how these are turning out. So this is the side panel right here, and then this is the inner back panel. So what I'm gonna do is, hi, welcome back, right in time for the end. So I am actually going to switch over to Twitch now. If you know what that is, it is a live streaming platform, and it is more focused just specifically on live streaming rather than YouTube, where your live streams kind of get lost. Twitch makes it very easy. So I'm going to switch over to Twitch and give that a try for probably another hour. So I'm going to try to get as much sewing done as possible with this. Yeah, so go ahead, find me over there if you're not doing anything and you want to. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining my stream. I always appreciate it. And I will actually link a post a link to my stream in the description box if you want to go ahead and join me. It might take me a couple minutes to get it there, but just check back in like 5 minutes maybe. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining me. Once again, I did want to do a shout out to Mora Mitchell. She is posting for 60 days in a row, and that is the whole reason that I have been posting for so many days in a row. I don't know what day we're on. I feel like we've probably been posting for almost 3 weeks now in a row, which is insane to me. But she even did a live stream this afternoon called Write With Me, where she was writing a horror film. And if you go ahead and put the link in there, I can't put the link in the chat box because, well, actually, maybe I can. Maybe I can just like literally do it while I'm live with you. Okay, yeah, 1 minute. Let me try to see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go live while, oh, yeah, cool. Wait, no, maybe not. I don't know. Also, when you see my Twitch stream, some of the information might be out of date, like my website link and stuff. So just ignore that today. I will fix that tomorrow. Because today I just want to actually try. It's going to be my first time actually streaming on Twitch. Maybe I've streamed like one other time, but it was like 2 years ago. Okay, let me see. Home. Stream manager. Viewers offline. I just stream from. You're gonna have to sit there for all the boring shit as I type in my title and stuff. My computer sounds like it's gonna explode, so that's really cute. Sewing. Okay, we're just gonna do that. Okay. Done. Stream info. Okay. How do we go live? Wait, welcome. Oh, duh, let me go on this. Okay, let's see. Um, I don't know where the link is. Thank you guys for being patient. Okay, I am live though. Da, 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 da. Okay, let's see if this works. No, wait, that's my dashboard. I know. Back. I feel like my computer is gonna explode from doing this. All right. Search. Okay, I got it, guys. I am pasting it in the description right here. If it doesn't work, then I will know because no one will join it, and then I will post a new link in the description. I'm going to end this stream now because I feel like my computer is going to blow up because I'm doing too much stuff at once. But definitely let me know if that doesn't work, and I will add a new one in the description box. Thank you so much again. Definitely check out Mora Mitchell, and if you're bored, join me on my Twitch stream. Bye, guys.